got to pay attention to how Kasparov has prepared for this game. Mainly goes for solid and mainline variations, but he will avoid going for what he thinks the players of the next generation know very well. So in short, if the Spanish appears, Gary will steer the game away from the Berlin. With this in mind, Wesley responded with e5, and after the knights were developed, Gary avoids the Spanish altogether and goes for the Scotch, not a line we see today very often. Has this surprised Wesley? Maybe, but he should be expecting this. Takes, and when Wesley developed the other knight, Gary's right in his element. He traded the knight, and of course Wesley had to capture in this way, in order for the king not to lose his castling rights. And here Gary goes for the knight. And again, though many chess programs do bring up the type of opening variation played here, why wouldn't mine do this? The attack on the knight is the Mises variation that was developed by Jacques Mises, and hence the name of the opening. Once black decides what he wants to do here, only then he can continue. There are generally two options. One is to get the knight out of f6, taking him back to where he came from. It's a loss of tempo, so this move is excluded here. If knight here, white will attack him again. And once the knight is kicked around the board, at the cost of white developing his pieces, you may after all realize black can go for an entirely different line of play. And Wesley did just that. He came up with this pin, and when the queen stepped in, this knight is now forced to make a run for it. So in short, the knight moved out of f6 when he was chased after. Rather than go for a knight move, Wesley in fact came up with a far better and much stronger response. Can you see? Okay, this is that move. And with this pin on the pawn, we have an extremely sharp game being developed, and we only have, 8 moves in this game. Wesley not only manages to create a very dangerous pin, but look how fast the queen side has developed, and those long castles are a breath away. b3, and now opening up the diagonal. Wesley is going to be all over Kasparov, and Devil wants this guy in the middle of the board. We know Gary has retired a long time ago, but he's still as sharp as they come. I'm not going to tell you, Gary has prepared for those splits extremely well. And talking of him being sharp, any ideas of how he responded? He went after the queen. Wesley covered, and when Gary opened up the diagonal, king's diagonal, Wesley may want to delay going after this guy on e5. But he doesn't. f4 covering. Just see what Gary did. He created a type of pyramid that holds pretty well. But is it good enough to crack Wesley? Knight b4 to nullify this bishop on a3. Got the rook to come under fire. But when the rook repositioned here, what's the score? The bishop is not doing much on a3. At the same time, it cancels out to the knight that is also not doing much. There appears to be some cracks in the black camp, and white is looking to make an effective use of this square on the board. Gary developed his knight when Wesley went for short. If you hand over your bishop for the knight, what happens if you chase after the big lady? There is queen c5, not only protecting the two pawns, they are attacked by this knight. But after queen f2, simplifying here, things become much clearer. Once the queens come off, c5 to cover will not get you that far at all, because after this a3, if bishop b7, you wish you never went for this, because this check, and there goes your bishop and the game. If you get the bishop to retreat here, after b4 comes off, capturing 2 will lead to this knight check. And when the king is forced to the corner, not rook takes because there is absolutely no need yet, but why not develop this rook? And white wins here, no sweat. Let's come back to see how things went. Gary positioned his bishop, and when Wesley shot off with this guy, he hoped the action to have concentrated on d5, but Gary had a different idea in mind. He attacked the knight, but Wesley was not going to budge. He too went after the knight, and when both knights disappeared, do you remove the bishop on a6 and allow the bishop on b2 to fall, or is there more to this position? If you take the bishop, there is just a bit more than a rest in this bishop on b2. What if you skip and go for this response? And if you try and get the queen out of harm's way, you will in fact be doing more damage. Rook takes and queen takes will have the bishop come off. But if you go for short first, white runs into this, and black has it all very well covered. Coming back for this reason, Gary moved the pawn first, and there is a situation here, but not something Wesley couldn't handle. He removed b4, and if you arrest the bishop, once this bishop on c3 is also out of the way, you are most likely to run into the same exact variation as before, but there is a small difference here, which I hope you will be able to work out. So coming back, when b4 was removed, Gary retreated his bishop, and when Wesley did the same, you can easily go for a7, but Gary was in no rush to do anything. He first got the king to safety, and when Wesley challenged this pawn, this game was sharper than sharp. He first squeezed in this check, and with the bishop being all over the place, Wesley has a situation which is not going to go away. If king to the corner, any ideas how white may be able to wrap this one up in just a jiff? This may be hard to see in a 5 minutes game, but it's going to be unmissable in a classic type of setup. So let's put this up using our 2 seconds countdown. And if this is too short for you, you know what to do. Keep that button paused for as long as you need. There is a way to win, but I want you to find it. So here we go. In 2, 1, and pause. This is a move, guys. And should you go rushing to arrest the queen, after this takes appears with a check, you will instantly realize this is not just a check, but a checkmate. So let's hear it. If after e takes f6, you squeeze in this very timely check. After king g2 and bishop takes, what if you don't rush things and go for this very silent response? And if you go chasing after this bishop, there is this bishop takes check. There is rook takes. There is this attack on the rook. And if you take the rook back to base, there is a lovely and very easy mate in 2. Queen e5, rook f6, and boom, a mate is a mate. And let's hear it. So let's come back to see what Wesley did. He knew this bishop was nothing but trouble, and therefore removed him. And when this queen came in with this check, rook f2, f takes, and bishop takes, it seems Gary's on top of his game. Takes, Wesley went for this pawn. Once the rook came into cover, Wesley attacked him, but through this very ingenious queen response. Do you think the queens came off? Wesley knew if the queens came off, the game would be completely lost. He didn't trade and went for this response. And when this rook moved out of danger, rook e8, king g2, and queen back here, got the bishop attacked. When he found this outpost, g4, this check, and king is to h2, and there is no way Wesley comes out of this one in one piece. c5 got the queen to sneak into f6. And how would you think Wesley reacts here? He went for it with this guy. But when Gary went for it too, bishop back to try and stop this guy. Gary tried this guy now. If you're looking for a blunder, you don't get to see Wesley go for. It's here. He went after the queen. Such moves do come at a very high price. When this check appeared, the king was forced forward. And right after this guy walked, after queen c5 and queen d6, Wesley gave up to a much stronger opponent on the day. And this is Kasparov coming out of his hiding place after so many years being dormant. He still has what it takes. And with this game, the standard was set. Wesley loses his first game ever from Gary. By now, Naka and Fabi know exactly what to expect from Gary Kasparov. Of course, as we know, many things happened by the end of this Blitz tournament, one step at a time. Gary's back with a vengeance, and his very first and very strong rival, Wesley So, is down by full